birthday was 3 weeks ago. I turned 41, but I had the flu, as did my entire family, so we didn't really celebrate. So now that we're all feeling better, we went out to dinner last night, and I wanted to make the dessert that I was originally going to make myself for my birthday. I did decide that this year I wanted to make some sandwich cookies, butterscotch sandwich cookies with this homemade caramel frosting in between. I'm really excited to do it, and now that I'm feeling better, it's the perfect time. So let me show you how to make those. So we'll start off with 1 cup of sugar, then 1 cup of brown sugar, and of course pressing this down in there. There we go, just like that. And then 1 cup or 2 sticks of butter. Speaking of the garden, I have all these little seedlings started. If you've been following me for a little bit, we've talked about this because I'm always excited to make sun-dried tomatoes. This year, I finally organized myself enough to get some basil going. To say that I'm an amateur gardener would be a very polite statement. I'm woefully disorganized. I have plans to have like a really proper garden that we can live off of. I just have to get all my duckies in a row, and so far my ducks are everywhere. Then 1 egg, and I'm holding on to my shells right now and drying them out and grinding them up to put in my flower beds. So set that aside. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Make sure you scrape it down in between. All right, so that looks good. Now we'll add in those dry ingredients. 2.5 cups of flour. You know, my husband and I have always gone out of our way to make sure that birthdays are really, really special. We even did it before we had kids. We would actually do like week-long celebrations, especially when we were quite a bit younger, and we still do them really special for our kids. Everybody gets to choose the food that week that we have for dinner for me to make. And then the birthday itself, it's like a full day of, you know, what do you want for breakfast? Opening presents early since we homeschool. Do you want to go out for lunch? Do you want to go out for dinner? And then I almost always have made all the cakes for everybody. So it's just such a fun, special thing for our family. Then it's 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Now everybody's just a tiny bit older now. My son is 16, but my daughter is still just 9. She has a really special heart that she wants to make it always unique for everybody. Last year for my birthday, I woke up and came out in the living room and she had some Mamma Mia music playing for me and a homemade poster. She just always wants people to feel special. She's such a sweetheart. And she even did that this year, even though she herself still had the flu. And I'm really lucky because my son got sick, then my daughter got sick, then I got sick. My husband was reading the writing on the wall. And a couple days before my birthday, he just started to feel a little bit crappy himself. And so he went out and got me flowers and things ahead of time. And he was like, I'm just seeing the writing on the wall. So he had a card and things all ready for me, even though we weren't able to go out that day. So it's just so nice. I'm very lucky. So even though it's past, we'll still get me celebrated here with these delicious cookies. We went out to dinner last night. We did some hibachi, which we love, and that was always fun. And then we're going to mix this up. Nice and slow to start. Okay. I love you. Okay, so these are done. I've got the oven preheated to 325, so we'll go ahead and get these rolled out. I've got my parchment lined baking sheet, my dough. I have a bowl with some sugar in it because we're gonna roll these into balls and then coat them in sugar. I have my ice cream scoop. It's about 1.5 inches wide here. And for this, I like to do like a heaping scoop of these for each cookie. So we'll go ahead and do that. So something like this. See? Okay. So there is that ball rolled in sugar. Down there. Now these, like most cookies, and especially since there's so much butter in them, these are going to spread out. So I generally do like 2 of them side by side. So there is that first tray. We're going to go ahead and put those in the oven. Keep an eye on them. You definitely don't want these to get super brown around the edges. So you will see that they kind of glisten on top as they're cooking. The butter is all melting and things like that. As soon as you don't see that anymore, that glistening top and just the tiniest bit brown on the edges, that's when you know they're done. So you don't want to overcook these. You want to keep them really soft. Okay, so here they are right in the oven. See, no brown around the edges, but they're starting to get those little crinkle lines on top. Those are perfect. The best way to keep these soft is to let them cool completely on the tray. If you remove them right away, they'll get crispy on the bottom, and we don't want that. We want a really soft sandwich cookie. So we're going to leave these to cool completely on the pan while we make our frosting. Start the frosting off with 2 sticks or 1 cup of butter, unsalted. Then you're going to mix in a half of a cup of caramel sauce. I have homemade caramel sauce. I have a recipe for this linked. You can also use a store-bought one. The texture of it is definitely going to change how much powdered sugar you need. So just watch that. We're going to add 4 cups of powdered sugar. So you may add a little more, a little bit less, depending on the consistency. My homemade caramel is pourable, but still pretty thick. So I'm going to gauge that as well. Looks so good. Teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then we're going to do 4 cups of powdered sugar. I'm going to start off just adding 2 in here, and then we'll slowly incorporate the other 2. On a low speed so that your powdered sugar doesn't go everywhere. Okay, we'll scrape that down a bit. So fluffy, it looks good. So now is that point where you want to kind of watch your texture and consistency to see where you want it. You're probably going to end up adding more powdered sugar than you would think you need, not less, just because you do want it to be stiff enough to hold its shape once you pipe those through the cookies. If you've got powdered sugar that's been sitting there for a little bit, make sure that you sift your powdered sugar before you mix it in. That way you don't end up with chunky frosting. Those have cooled so we can fill our piping bag. You can also just use a really good butter knife and scoop some up and put a good amount in between them. That's totally fine. You do not have to use the piping bag. Here is our frosting. Get this all loaded up. And there we are, all ready to go. Let's do the fun part now. Half of my cookies are still cooling, but overall, this recipe should make you about 30 cookies, so that's 15 sandwiches. So I'll work with what we've got so far. But here's how those should look. Just really nice and light, golden brown on the bottom. You may end up with some like I do that have those a little bit crispy brown on the edges. That's okay, they're gonna be delicious anyway. So take 1 cookie and start around the edges. And you're just gonna pipe like a good amount on there. Remember, it's a sandwich cookie, so think like an Oreo. Okay. So piping around those edges. And then just filling your center. You don't have to go crazy because once we add the other cookie on this, we're going to squish them down a bit. It doesn't have to be too close to the edge because you're going to push that down. And then just filling in like so. So there's that cookie with the caramel frosting on it. And then we will put the other cookie on top and give it a gentle squeeze. Oh, look at that. So good. It is everything that I've been dreaming about for a month now. There's just a hint of salt on that caramel frosting inside. Cookies are soft and delicious. It's definitely sweet. It's decadent. It is so delicious and perfect. Well worth the month of flu and the wait. These are incredible. I'm so excited. Thank you all so much for following along. The recipe for this is linked. If you like this, please make sure to like the video. And above all, make sure you like and subscribe and follow for more.